Hi, boys. It's Fake Josh Kerr here, live in Paris. Bonjour, ça va? Fresh off the qualifiers. Yeah, that went well. It's pretty good. I heard your Ingebrigtsen song the other day there. It's pretty interesting, shall we say, but I think the boy's talents are wasted. I think he should take his artistic leanings towards stand-up comedy. I don't race, so I can't be his rival. You don't race either, pal. You chase lights round a track. Hey, Rojo, you make sure when I run by your boy there to win gold again that you spell that shirt properly. Pacemaker is spelt Pacemaker, right? And make sure you send the Fake Josh Kerr one of these shirts as well. Extra large, of course. Hey, Weejo, I got your email. Don't worry, pal. The Fake Josh Kerr will still be a supporters club member, Fake Josh Kerr. I want all the best coverage for the Olympics that you boys are putting out. And you got to keep Jonathan on the payroll, because Sean Ingall's not going to be with the Guardian forever. Anyways, boys, that's all I got. On to the semi-finals we go. And we'll talk soon. All right. Au revoir. Cheers.
We're here.
We're live. Hello from Paris. Well, no, I'm so excited. We're doing a Let'sRun.com live show. We just saw one of the great Olympic 10,000 meter finals of all time. Somehow you look taller than me in this live show, even though I'm, probably half an inch taller than you. I don't really mind. I get to break it down. This is what we live for. We just saw it day one of the track and field competition at the Olympics. It was incredible. Grant Fisher is an Olympic medalist. First time those words have ever been said on this show. Joshua Cheptegei is an Olympic champion. We have said that before, but not in the 10,000 meters. His fourth crown globally at this distance. All-time race. 13 men under 27 minutes. Olympic record for Joshua Cheptegei, 26:43. Beru Aragawi of Ethiopia gets the silver. Fisher the bronze. Man, it was a great night at the Stade de France, Walden.
Amazing day one. I mean, this morning, the Olympic, we walked in, I'm like, is anyone going to be here? There were 75,000 people, or whatever the exact number was, packed for a morning session. Great atmosphere. Josh and Jakob get underway. 3 American men make it right off the bat. We're just pumped. Everything's going. Qualifying in 5K, 3 American women make it. 2 out of 3 to 800. Good day for the distance. And I'm already like, this is great. A little 1,500 controversy. Niels Laros acts like we're long lost friends. Let's run, baby. I mean, I'm having a good time. It's like London 2012 is back, baby. And
it's a European Olympics, Weldon. Yeah. And look, the last one is Tokyo's COVID, so you can't really fault them for that. But we were in Rio, and they got some decent crowds in a few nights. But can you remember a night in Rio like this one? Maybe the night that Bolt won the 100 and Wayne Van Niekerk got the 400 world record was great. But this was like the Budapest atmosphere from the World Championships last year, except if the stadium was twice as big, which it is. It was just phenomenal atmosphere. The DJ was on point. They're playing I Will Survive, like this big pumped up version of it right after the race. All the athletes were into it. Like, this is what the Olympics are meant to be like.
Yeah. I mean, you forget, we go to a lot of these world championships. Track fans go to world championships. People go to the Olympics, and they love the Olympics. Like, we were leaving the morning session, and people were there 3 hours early, like, flying over from England. We clearly didn't know that much about track. I didn't want to mention a few more British people. I didn't know they knew who they were. And we're like, kid, this is our chance to go to the Olympics. The kid in 2012 was probably 4, so he looked about 16. And then all of that, and then that 10K final, it just delivered on so many levels. Grant Fisher has done it. I was saying the kid's not going to medal. And yet Robert had him as our number 1 most likely American to medal because he had 2 shots at the apple. He delivered. Joshua Cheptegei he's already had an Olympic gold at 5,000. Now he has the gold at 10,000. Afterwards, he had some great comments. And
Cheptegei is the doubters. I'm just going to say that. Like, he said multiple times, he's like, I know people were counting me out after Oslo. Like, I knew people were saying I wasn't going to win. I'm like, how many people is Joshua Cheptegei following? I'm like, is he listening to
Yes.
our podcast episodes? Like, because he kind of, in the mix zone, he kind of looked at me when he said that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't pick you, buddy, but good for him. Like, he delivers when it matters. And it was sort of a microcosm of the race because he just lurks in the back of that pack for the entire race. He's 15th with a couple miles to go, just chilling. And then he moves up and he goes hard. When he shows up big time and he delivers. Huge win for him, huge, powerful move. And he really hadn't been running that well this year, but he ran great in the one race that mattered more than any of them, which is the Olympic final.
Yeah, we'll have some clips from him, some clips from Grant. Afterwards, he essentially said a couple of times, like, what was your most famous race in your career? He said, that's it. The track career is over. He's going to do the 5, but he's like, this is it. I've been doing this too long, 10 years. I said, dude, you're the same age as Grant Fisher. And he's like, well, I've been here 10 years. Grant isn't. And we'll add some of this little retrospective stuff, and then we can break down, analyze the race in a little more detail. And people, John just cracked his first beer. Like, come on, have some fun. I was getting texts from people who aren't sports fans. My mom saw the 10,000. My buddy Tom saw the 10,000. Like, it was a great race for people who don't watch a lot of track and field.
JJ Watt was tweeting about it. I have another buddy of mine who really doesn't follow track and field at all. He's like, that 10,000 was amazing. I'm like, man, you guys, if you like that, just wait for the men's 1,500 in a couple of days because that might even be even better. But no, this was track and field at its best. This was why we go nuts about this sport, because when you get a race like this on the big stage, we're reminded, oh yeah, this is why we care so much about this stuff. And
it's just so great, so long. And whoa, let's run. Our Paris, we have a sponsor, people. Feldspar, they're delivering. This is the Feldspar Let's Run reaction show. Dude, tracks are like, first we had what, like dirt tracks, John, and then people thought like what tartan is what we have now. People said Feldspar is trying to make the track for the 21st century. Smart sensors, supposed to be faster. Prototypes are being built now. Check it out. We got a QR code here. Scan that. Feldsparsport.com. But thank you, Feldspar, making our coverage come possible. But Cheptegei afterwards, like, we can talk where he ranks with the Bekele Gebrselassie, but he's now in the pantheon of greats. Olympic champion of 2 different. I don't think he's quite at that level, but a great spokesman. Just him and Grant, the respect between them was amazing. But we can get to that later. Let's break down this race. I'm assuming most of you saw it, but we'll still kind of talk through it a little bit because, man, like Grant Fisher did it. He got a bronze medal, and halfway down the home stretch, John, what was I yelling at you?
You were screaming, he could win this. I think you were getting Rupp vibes from 2012 because Rupp looked like he was gaining on Farah a little bit. I don't think Fisher really gained that much on Cheptegei. Maybe like at the very end when Cheptegei realized he had it. It didn't really look like to me that he was going to win it, but he was in the silver medal position for a while after he passed Mohamed. And Aragali got him right at the line. I mean, Mohamed, heart goes out to that guy because I was like, Mohamed, his best days are probably behind him. He medaled in 2021, he medaled in 2019, but like Fisher's clearly better than him, and I'm not even sure Fisher's going to medal. And Mohamed was right there in second with 50 to go. He played it great. He had no regrets. He's like, look, I ran. I actually have the quote. My Canadian friend, 2016 Olympian, Anthony Romanu, texted me a clip of Mo, his interview on the CBC afterwards, and he said, I ran really fucking well. And this is a Canadian just dropping the F-bomb on national TV, and he's totally right. He did. He ran 26:43. He would have broken the old Olympic record by 18 seconds. He just got beat by 3 studs. So Mo ran great, but yeah, Fisher was right in there and gets the medal after coming so close in 2021 and 2022. Huge run for him. Validates that big decision he made at the end of last year, leaving behind Jerry Schumacher and the Bowerman Track Club to.
Does it? Mohamed had a better race. No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, no, this is the thing. We'll get into this, but like
this sport, it's decided. As Grant said, I moved to altitude. We'll play some of his clips. 1 second makes all the difference in the world. I moved to altitude for that. I mean, Mo is what, 0.3 behind Grant?
Yeah, the top 6 guys in this race all finished within a second of Cheptegei. And
wait, what?
That's right, yeah.
Kajelcha, Yomi Kajelcha, the guy who Well, he's medaled once, but besides that,
is there a thread on Let's Run right now saying Yomir Kujelcha goes home devastated? Because I think there needs to be after that. Most of the athletes in this race were very happy with their performance because we saw, obviously, the 3 medalists were pleased. We saw personal bests. We saw national records for Spain by Thierry and Dikamuanayo, South Africa, Adrian Wildschut, France. Jimmy Gressier was doing basically his own lap of honor. He ran 26:58. The crowd loved him. He only got him 13th, but it was a hell of a run for that guy. So a lot of people were very pleased. Nico Young going sub 27 in the Olympic final in August. This guy's been racing since like cross country of last year. That was incredible at the age of 21. And the one guy who was just devastated was Kujelcha, because we've seen this time and time again with this guy. He's great on the circuit. He ran, 12:38 this year in Oslo. And then he gets to the championships and he just can't perform at the same level, And he did medal in 2019 at Worlds, so you got to give him that. But he's been to 7 global championships and he has 1 medal. And he's been one of the best guys on the circuit for that entire time. So for him to get 6th today, you would look at his accomplishments on paper going into this final, and you could say he was the favorite. He won the Ethiopian trials. He's run 12:38. For him to only get 6th in this race, it's a massive disappointment for him. And unfortunately, it's part of a larger trend. So yeah, he was just sitting on the track, head in hands, and he was down there for maybe 4 minutes or so. It was similar to Coleman after he got 4th in the
4 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, John.
I don't know if it was 10, but
time stop still. I mean, they'd already done a whole victory lap. I think granted his victory lap in 4 minutes, but the one guy who disappointed isn't the right word. He's never medaled. Barry Aragawe, Mr. 4th place, who Robert always says beats Grant Fisher. Well, somehow it happened again. That was true. Robert said Grant Fisher's never going to medal because Aragawe will beat him. Aragawe pips him at the line by 0.02 only. Wow. And they're after, they're like, hey, you finally medaled. And he's like, oh, in Ethiopia, we're after the gold medal. I mean, this would be a translator, so you can't hear, but he's like, that, but think about it, right? I guess we had Mo Farah for a while, but before that, you had Bekele and Gebre Selassie. Like, that's what they set the expectation so high.
Yeah.
Man, Kenya has, when's the last time a Kenyan won the 10,000? Like,
long time. Was it maybe 1968? Did they win it back in Mexico City? I think I have the medalists somewhere here. List of Olympic medalists in the 10,000 meters. Yeah, Naftali Temu, 1968, Mexico City. That's the first and only time Kenya has won this race. So it really has been Ethiopians, and then you had the Mo Farah interruption for a couple of years, and then now Cheptegei. But let's talk about this race. So it started out with Ethiopian team tactics, which is so we always hear about, oh, they're going to use team tactics in the Olympics or the Worlds. It very rarely happens, but it happened this time. All of them bought in, and you would think Kujelcha and Aragawe, those are the guys who would most want to go fast because they're not known as having huge kicks. They did kick pretty well at a very fast pace at the Ethiopian trials earlier this year. Winning time was 26:31. They were both closing pretty fast. So people are criticizing the tactics, their decision in the comments. I would say it worked decently well. Okay, it didn't get them the gold, but this was always going to be a risk that you're sort of helping set the pace, and then you might get, outkicked at the end. But Kujelcha, I think, if you're going to say what race suits him, this one or 27:30 race, I would have said this would have been a better race for him. And he wasn't leading the whole thing. They did share the lead pretty equally. Even Barrega, who I'm surprised agreed to this. Maybe the federation made him do it because I feel like that's the guy. He really does have a great kick and change of gears. I didn't think that a 26:40 race would suit him, and it turned out it didn't.
He was the one who it seemed like the pace took its toll because they were essentially alternating at the front. Grant was positioned well behind them. They go through 5K, 13:22?
13:23, yep.
And it was 73 degrees. And I see that, and I'm like, wow, they're going to kick off this. Like, I mean, that's American record territory. Like, so they're going to make up 10 seconds kicking at the end. I mean, you're getting close. And then I think the pace took its toll a bit. Like, Woody K goes off the back. But at some point, I'd say final 2 miles, like Nico Young starts to get dropped a bit.
Well, no, what happened the final 2 miles is they start backing off a little bit, and then it starts bunching up, and I'm like, okay, now it's a race because these guys who are leading, they're starting to think. The first part, you can turn your brain off and say, okay, they're just doing my job. Once you start to see that finish line coming up, the line kind of gets into single digits, you start thinking, all right, how am I going to win this race? And Borrega, you could also tell when Borrega would go to the front, his laps would be a little slower than these other guys, and I wasn't sure, is that because he wants a slower race, or does he just not have the legs? Whatever it was, he wasn't super reliable to keep it going. Like
that's what I was
thinking
that. Like when he started taking lead, the pace would slow down, and I'm like, either he's not liking this pace or he wants it slower.
Yeah,
and that would let the guys get back in the race. And then, I mean, essentially, it just came down a kick between. I got the numbers in front, but like,
it was like 8 guys the last 100 kicking for the.
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, let's say the last 800s really like when Nico Young finally got dropped for good, but essentially, but that pace, I think that still helped Grant Fisher. They were all sort of cash. I mean, look at the guys who had really led. Kajelcha done, Borrega done, Aragawi. He had an amazing final 100. He was so boxed with 100 to go, or boxer on the rail, comes out wide, just starts passing people left and right.
That's the crazy thing, because Aragawi, not known for his kick at all, neither is Grant Fisher. Grant Fisher had the fastest last lap in the race, 54.7. Now, it was pretty close. All the other guys were, Cheptegei was 54.9, Aragawi 54.9, Bernard Cabet 54.8. So it was all right around there. But yeah, Fisher, it worked out nicely because he was able to stay up front and he wasn't doing any of the leading like the Ethiopians. So he kind of got a great race situation for him. He said afterwards in the press conference, he was like talking about Cheptegei and Aragawi. He's like, these guys, I think they had a little bit more wiggle room for them to medal. Me, I needed things to really go in this narrow window, and it did. And then he took advantage. And the thing about Fisher, I mean, Cheptegei's winning move is pretty similar to the winning move he made in Budapest last year. He took it with 5:50 to go, went hard, and got a little gap, and that was it. He wasn't. No one was really that close to catching him on the last lap. It's not like it was a dominant win, but no one sort of came right up on his shoulder and was like making that threat. Fisher, I thought was interesting when he ran that race in LA back in May against many of these other contenders. He said, I let this gap form on the back straight. The top guys had separated with 200 to go, and that was my mistake. At the time, we were sort of critical, like, did you really make this tactical mistake, or were you just not quite strong enough to hang with those guys? Well, when we kind of thought it was the latter. But now I'm starting to reassess that because today, watching that race, he was challenged by Kiplimo with 300 to go. Kiplimo comes up his shoulder. Fisher is 4th or 5th at this point. And he could either sort of back off and save himself for the last 100, or he can try to fight Kiplimo off and go with it. And he admitted, in previous years, he might have gone with this move, but he went with it tonight. And Kiplimo did get by him, but what it did was sort of position Fisher so that was in position to fight for the medals in the last 100. And he said, maybe it hurt me a little bit at the very end. I got hit by Aragawi at the line, but who knows if he's even in position to get that medal if he didn't go with that move with Kiplimo on the back straight. So I thought it was good for him, and it was, there's a risk to either one. There's a risk with going with that move, and there's a risk with holding back, but I think he played things near perfectly.
I'm still not sure about the LA thing. I think at some point your fitness isn't there. But hearing him talk today, there's such a fine line. He's like, I know I had to stay with him. If I dropped off, I just was like, it's done. So I think there can be a little truth to both. Like, I think in LA, like, okay, maybe that's the proper mindset you need to be on the medals. Like, he's like, I have no room for tactical errors. I can't drop back and then have to step out wide. That's 0.2 right there. I blow it. I blow a medal. So I think both those things can be true, maybe to some extent. But it was just so great. And then afterwards, the crowd was raucous. They're yelling. I assume actually they can change the lights because the lights were flashing red and yellow, the Ugandan colors. We'll make sure that they do that. But this is the first gold medals. Maybe it can't be by chance. So that's the only.
No, they did it not intentionally, I think.
And it was great. Fisher was just sort of like going like this, and then like Woody Kincaid was even graduating. I'm not even that they used to be training partners, and like there's this brotherhood of U.S. distance running that sort of, I mean, it goes well back, John. And I thought this was interesting, sort of post-race comments. You know, John, you said, oh, and the full post-race interview is up on the YouTube channel. Let's run YouTube channel, 10K press conference. I love this press conference. Usually press conferences are pretty bad. It was the sound isn't really good in this room, and there weren't a lot of people. So like the questions were good. Like it was. And
you kept saying it was good because Let's Run got to ask like 4 questions.
Helped, but also like Grant is so thoughtful and Joshua is so thoughtful. Like,
yeah.
And they're both like historians of the sport. And John said like, hey, you know, like not a lot of Americans have medaled. And I think he said Billy Mills.
I said Meb, Billy Mills, and Centro.
So Frank Shorter. Centro and Frank Shorter. And then Grant just starts asking a question, and he's like, Evan, he sort of dropped in just Evan Jaeger, Galen Robb, and then Paul Taylor. He got them all. Yeah. And I was just like, and didn't like correct your name. He made sure he got them all in there.
Yeah.
It was just really cool. And we may have a special guest soon. But actually, John, then Grant, we've got hopefully some audio clips here or video clips. I'm going to play this clip where Grant talks about meeting Billy Mills in 10th grade. And we may have a special guest.
I met Billy Mills when I was a sophomore in high school. He gave a speech at the Michigan High School Coaches Association banquet, and I was there. And so I have a T-shirt that's signed by Billy Mills from when I was a kid. So he's one of the few people that have stood on top of the podium in the men's distance races for the U.S. So really inspiring. He has a great story, and I'm happy to kind of continue that legacy a little bit and get a medal for the U.S.
That was Grant talking about Billy Mills, but he's an autographed Billy Mills thing. I mean, like, and that was one thing even Joshua was talking about, like inspiring these kids. And we sort of forget it, but you can't be a distance runner in America and not be inspired by Billy Mills. And, you know, who knows what Grant will pave the way for next in American distance running. And essentially, Joshua even said that, like, oh, you're an inspiration, essentially meaning, like, you know, there's new faces around here. Like, and the Americans, you know, as Grant said, but when he was coming up there, till he was a kid, so he's 27. So Rupp got the medals in 2012. You know, he was, 15-year-old kid. He was really a kid then. So that sort of made it possible for him. And, you know, now the next generation is going to think this is possible.
Well, can we just give an enormous amount of credit to Grant Fisher for fulfilling all of these prophecies that have been made for him for 10 years. Because I remember my first memory of Grant Fisher was winning Foot Lockers in 2013 when he was a junior. Great home stretch duel against John Dressel. And when you win Foot Lockers as a junior, and this was back when Foot Lockers was a bit bigger deal than it is now, that's very hard to do. There are not many guys who have done it. Dathan Ritzenheim was one. He goes on to be this U.S. legend. Abdirazak Muhammad, still don't know what happened to that guy. But, you know, the spotlight is on him at that point. And they say, all right, Grant Fisher, you're supposed to be the next great American distance runner. And he breaks 4 as a high schooler, back when that was also still a pretty big deal to do. Then he goes to NCAAs. He wins NCAAs as a sophomore at Stanford. Then he goes to Bowerman, starts winning U.S. titles. And now he's gotten on an Olympic medal. And, okay, yes, you could say technically the one final step is to win a gold medal at a World Championships or an Olympics. But that is a feat accomplished by so few American distance runners that it's almost an unrealistic expectation to ask of any of them. But he's in that conversation now. And just for him to make it here, to hit every check mark, and it's been pretty much every year he gets better after the next one. He had those injuries last year, but he still set an American record in 3K. For him to fulfill this and actually climb the mountaintop and get to the Olympic podium, it's just really impressive how he's handled things from every level. And he's done it with grace, dignity, just a class act through and through.
I mean, one thing that shocked me, John's going to know this, but yeah, Grant Fisher's been at the top for a long time, blah, blah, blah. No, Grant Fisher, his first international competition was the Tokyo Olympics. Like, what? Because Grant missed last year. like, what did he place in Tokyo? I feel like Grant's always been at the top, always just missing out medals. That was actually only in 21 and 22.
Yeah, he was 5th in Tokyo in his Olympic debut. And he had a cool story where he said he got in the start line of that race, standing next to Cheptegei. He had set a PB earlier that year of 27:11, which was exactly 1 minute slower than Cheptegei's world record. And he was kind of thinking, like, what am I doing racing against this guy? Like, he's so much better than me. But since then, he finished 5th in that race, and he realized, okay, I'm not that far away from contending with these guys. And he's gotten better and better each year. And now Cheptegei said after the race, he grabbed Grant Fisher and said, I'm leaving this event. Like, this is your event. Go and win it next year. That was essentially what he told them, which, and again, if you're the bronze medalist, that is, you have the right to dream of a gold medal. So this could well be like the only time Grant Fisher medals, or it could be a prelude to something greater. I don't, that's to be determined, but I think we need to appreciate what he did tonight more than just say, oh, what is he still capable of? Like, we can't shift the goalpost. We've been saying, can Grant Fisher medal on this podcast for like 2 or 3 years now. He finally got it. You got to pay respect to the guy.
Yeah. I was about to play the clip about Cheptegei talking about leaving the track. Let's finish up with Grant, then we get to Cheptegei. But here's the clip. Grant sort of talking about, the changes, the little changes he had to make from essentially going from 5th, 3 years ago, to 3rd today.
I made a big change a year ago, and one of the pieces to that change was to move to Park City and spend more time at altitude. That was one piece of the puzzle that, bumped me up 1 second over the course of a 10K. And I think it was a big piece. You look at everyone that medals in the 10K year after year, pretty much everyone lives at altitude. They don't live at sea level and do camps at altitudes. One piece was to just individualize my training a little better. Switching coaches was a piece of that, implementing, different ideas in training, a lot more threshold work, a lot more choosing high frequency of workouts over high intensity of workouts, a lot more lactate testing, trying to hone in everything that I could. And, there are things that I left behind by making a change. I had fantastic training partners, and, I've kind of pieced it together. Matt Centrowitz has been a great training partner and mentor over the past year.
It all comes back to Matthew Centrowitz, man. But Grant also talked about the Olympics are going to be 2034, Winter Olympics. Going to have cross country. Grant said it'll be too old, but it'll be 37.
37? A 37-year-old Grant Fisher could be
cross country.
It depends how many people. It depends how many people you put on the team. But if it takes 6, like they do at World Cross, he could make that team absolutely.
And Let's Run.com's very excited about cross country coming to Winter Olympics. We'll go to the Winter Olympics and cover one event. We're going to also make so much money. We're going to start like tours and shit, like have ski parties and stuff. Like come skiing with the Rojos and John.
I know. Is it selfish of me to think like part of the reason I want World Cross Country in the Winter Olympics is so that I can go to the Winter Olympics? Because that would be epic. Those are a couple cool locations. But all right, let's move to Cheptegei. This race, I mean, he was already one of the best runners of his generation. He'd already won 3 titles on the track in the 10,000. He was already an Olympic champion in the 5,000, World Cross Country champion. But for him to do it, he's now done it across 2 Olympics. He's been at the top level. His first medal on the track was 2017 in London, which was Mo Farah's final championships, final gold medal in that race. And he's been consistently around the top. But the other thing, this was far from a given that he was going to win this race. Coming in, I mean, he was only 9th in Oslo back in May in the 5K, and he got smoked in that race. It wasn't that he was 9th place. He was 9th. He finished 15 seconds behind Gebrewedt, who was the winner. He was 13 seconds behind Kejelcha, 11 seconds behind Kip Limo. He beat, Gebrewedt wasn't in this race, but he beat the other 2 guys in this race. The other 2 guys didn't even medal, in fact. So there is something to be said for time at your peak. And Cheptegei has shown time and again, he delivers his best at this the major championships. And I asked him, are you not worried when you get 9th in a race like Oslo and you're just getting crushed? And he's like, I know there's a bigger picture. He also said he'd been at sea level for a while because remember he'd run that LA race a couple weeks earlier. So he's like, I don't like spending that much time at sea level. I do my best work at altitude. I really wanted to get back to training. And, he didn't race again after Oslo. So that was the last race we had of him. And, I think there was some reason to doubt him. Now, granted, he got beat in Florence the year he won the Olympics in 2021. He was only, sixth in the 5K there. If you go to 2023, he was only fourth in Florence in the 5K. This year, what worried me the most was he was only sixth at World Cross this year. Because cross country, he's usually a beast, and he was, on the podium the previous two editions. For him to get sixth, I'm like, after that poor marathon debut last year, granted, he mispaced that, but I was looking at him like, this guy, I think he's losing a step. And Cheptegei very much has not lost a step. He said he thinks he's in world record shape right now. He said 2640s was like jogging for him. So he was feeling himself, but you know what? You're allowed to do that when you win an Olympic record to win the deepest 10,000 meter race ever run. It was congrats to him because he showed up once again.
For sure. I'm going to play one of the clips from him. But also, I really recommend this press conference. I never recommend press conferences. I just really enjoyed it. But here's Cheptegei talking about some of that.
One special moment was when I was in Oslo and I was number 8 or number 9. And then everybody was like, Cheptegei is gone. But for me, I always take disappointments to build up into something special. And I've always gotten it right. And I want to thank really, God, and I want to thank the team around me, my training coaches, my management, global sports communication, and everybody. And these guys always make me to go strong, be stronger. The 10K is now like it's more stake than any other distance. When you look at these guys now running 26:12, and then everybody's strong, so it can be anybody's race. So it really huge respect for these guys, and maybe for me, maybe it's time to go to the roads. Yeah, sincerely, like I've really won everything that is there to be won. So I think this is my last Olympics, and maybe this is my last track and field. So I'm really very sure that the track is on the safe side with these guys, and with the ground, and of course the hero here, and many guys out there. I'm sure that we'll have more exciting moments in the future again. But as for me, it's been a great 10 years. I remember way back in Eugene, Oregon, the World Junior Championship in 2014.
Who knew, John? I didn't even should have gone to the World Championship in 2014 in Eugene. I don't do juniors.
Hey, it's coming back in Eugene 2026, baby. The hosting, yeah.
Oh, God,
You got a chance for redemption. Might find the next Cheptegei.
If I'm moving to the West Coast, maybe I'll be there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have what you've all been waiting for. The one and only Rojo is joining the show.
Wait, Robert, can you tell me, was this race good news for Grant Fisher?
I cannot tell why. Very good news for Grant Fisher.
You may medal one day.
Barring a positive doping test in the next 24 hours, I think he's got a medal for the rest of his life. And I always like to talk about asterisk and put an asterisk in American medals, Robson medals, because of association with Salazar or the super shoes in the marathon. But and there was that thread on the message board that the Americans have air conditioning in the dorms and nobody else does. But I don't think you can really put an asterisk on this one, because this was the 10,000. All the big heavy hitters were there. This wasn't some watered down 5,000 where a couple of them begged out or whatever. This was the cream of the cream. I thought he might medal. We said a couple years ago, we thought he would eventually medal because he's going to get enough cracks with 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And that happened, but this wasn't watered down. This was well-deserved. It was exceptional. Steve Prefontaine probably wouldn't be proud of this race. And I was kind of bashing it to my friend in that sense, like, you didn't do any work. And I'm like, hey, what are you talking about, Robert? This is ridiculous. Weldon Johnson would have been very proud of this race. This is what Weldon did. Just sat on the rail, did not waste energy, and then moved late in races, except for the one time he was at USA's and actually was shocked he was still up there, 2003, and started raising the roof, and then he did terrible. But when you do no work, stay on the rail, and whatever, you've got a good shot. I mean, would the Ethiopians have beaten him if they hadn't been doing all that work? Is it true Barega said he was injured? I read that in the comments.
because I did lose a significant sum of money on Borrega, but I put a lot of money down last night on these betting odds John and I have been paid to do. But this was back to Fisher. It was really wonderful. But this nonsense about Cheptegei. Why? Why are you leaving the track? Like you gap the field with the.
All right, we may have problems with that. I don't know if we're live or Rojo's live. Oh, Rojo's back.
Okay.
I don't know why he would leave, and I was kind of worried. Like honestly, if Fisher hadn't medaled in these Olympics, you go to the next one next year, Worlds. Like Cheptegei's probably gone to the roads. Koplima's gone to the roads. He medals. It doesn't mean as much. It's not the Olympics A and B. They've all gone to the roads. I was kind of hoping, honestly, that the Michael Johnson Track League, which I'm not a big fan of, would keep some of these guys like Cheptegei. You can pick up $100,000 running 3.5 at these races, but it sounds like he wants to go to the roads. But there's a great comment here on YouTube. Like he's talking about Fisher being the same next generation. They're the same age. So I don't get why he feels like he needs to leave the track. Like I get it if you're done and you're no longer any good, then you can go to the track. But Mo Farah went to the roads and then tried to come back and it didn't work out. So I guess if he thinks he can break the marathon record,
I'll tell you why. First of all, the guy's done pretty much everything on the track. He's got the world record in the 5 and the 10. He's won the Olympics in the 5 and the 10. He's won 3 world titles in the 5,000. That's plenty. That's a full career if you want it. And you're saying, oh, why doesn't he move into the marathon when he's done winning? Well, how about he wants to move to the marathon and dedicate some years of his prime? We're not all Eliud Kipchoge here running into our late 30s or realistically probably 40s and running amazing. You only have a limited time at the top. And I can understand if he wants to say, I saw what Mo Farah did. Mo Farah hung up. Well, I guess Mo Farah left when he was still really good in the on the track as well. But I think he would just wants to dedicate a few years of the marathon while he's still in his running prime. I can get behind that idea.
And Robert, at the end of the press conference, I said, hey, you're acting like you're too old and Grant Fisher's the future. But you're the exact same age. I mean, Cheptegei turns 28 in September, I think Grant next April or something like that, but they're right now at the same age. And he's like, look, 10 years is a long time. I've been doing this for 10 years at the top. I mean, some was juniors, but he's like, as Grant said, this is year 3. I mean, at the Grant's first global competition was 2021.
Year 4. That was year 1. 2022 is year 2. It's year 4. Okay.
4 minus 1 is 3. But anyway, so yeah, I can probably pull up the quote here, and I get it. But I thought also one thing I took from him, they said, what's your biggest win? And the first thing he said was World Cross Country in Denmark. And he's like, no one thought I could win that. He loved proving people wrong.
Well, people thought he could win that. What he loved was his meltdown in Uganda, the previous World Cross. That was sort of, that was a big deal for him and for Uganda, for him to come back and to win on the hardest cross-country course we've ever seen. It was a huge win. It was his first global title. It was before he won anything on the track. So it's kind of funny. This is a 2-time Olympic champion. He's saying world cross-country, but for what he'd gone through to that point, I do get it.
Yeah, what year was Uganda?
2017.
So great. He was, but then that was crazy because he was sort of an unknown. I mean, on the global medal stage.
And let's appreciate his fearlessness from that Ugandan race. If you're not familiar with it, back then Jeffrey Camore was the man. He was viewed as basically unbeatable in cross country. And there was a young Joshua Cheptegei in front of the home crowds that just ran fearless. And we were stunned that he broke Camore, right? He got a bleed. And we're like, what's going on? How is this possible? And in reality, he was willing him to do something that his buddy couldn't do. And then he staggered home.
But yeah, Google Joshua Cheptegei.
2017 World XC.
And you'll see a video from Let's Run. I think we're going with the video. He's like staggering around like the woman in the marathon, the 84 Olympics. I mean, that's something he pushed himself such to limit, such heat stroke or whatever. Some people don't come back from that. And he's come back.
But
I guess that's the question. He's come back, Robert. 2 gold medals. I guess he's got another shot in the 5. I don't expect him to do anything in the 5. I'd sure expect him to win the 5 in Tokyo after not medaling in the 10. Right?
He medaled.
Well, he got
No, medal,
he got the
excuse me,
silver in the 10K.
After not winning, in Tokyo, I didn't expect him to win the 5.
Yeah.
Like the 5 isn't his best event, but
Can
he goes different and can control what race differently. Like I think, oh, the kickers win all these things, whatever. Like he's shown there's a different way to win these things, even if you're not just like. Well, he said he was in world record shape today, so maybe he wasn't like I'm about to say Gibber Selassie or sort of highly G shape where you're just better than everyone else. I'm not convinced he would be that way because I just saw him get 9th in a race in Oslo. So it's hard to sort of square some of these things together because they're not totally congruent.
All right. I do have one other thought. Robert, go ahead if you want to say something. I wanted to make one.
Thoughts was, like it's interesting. Like you think you're at a new level. Do we know these guys are really at a new level? There's just a lot of them. I mean, the difference between Fisher and 7th place is basically 1.04 seconds. I mean, and all these guys in the last lap. I mean, even with 200 meters to go, probably thought they had a shot at a medal. I mean, Barrega ran 26:44.48. That's 1.04 seconds. 1.02 seconds behind Fisher, 1.04 seconds behind Erigawe. If I'm handing out grades, disappointing to me to Kaplimo. I mean, it was a fast pace. He's a world cross. He's the god of the roads, the god of the world cross country. I'm like, okay, let's see what he can do here. But that was surprising to me. And I was very impressed by Nico Young. I mean, running 26:58. Like this was not, this isn't California. When he wrote 27 before, he was in like perfect cooler conditions. This was, low 70s degrees, right? I mean, it's not super warm, but it's certainly not time trial type conditions. End of the season, I just thought this guy was super, super tough. Recently Mike Smith, the coach, said, if you expect something amazing, just look at Nico Young next year. I would push back against that in the sense of I think Nico's made a huge jump this year. Why would we think he would make another jump next year? Now, I respect Mike Smith, and so he's got the inside day today, but I was like, wait a minute. Are we really going to expect to have 2 big jumps for Nico Young? But all in all, like a year ago to today, would you have thought Nico Young would have become a dominant NCAA runner and make the Olympics in the 10K? I don't. That was probably the hope when he got to college. Last year, people were like, no, it's not going to happen. So amazing year for Nico. We'll see what happens next year because Mike Smith's saying expect even more. And I spent some time in the last year with Sean Brosnan, and he's just also incredibly high in Nico Young. So, when was that? I guess around December when Walden and I were talking to Sean Brosnan. And, I was kind of thinking, Nico's like a pretty good college runner. And Sean Brosnan's like, no, man, like this guy is amazing. And he's lived up to that hype, lived up to that thought process. So other thoughts for the day, I'm going to have to ask you guys. Like, I'm an old man. I missed my flight to Paris, trying to get there by Sunday. And, they don't have channels anymore. Like you turn on the TV and there's no NBC. You have to, there's 8 Olympic channels. I'm kind of kidding, but I did not get up. I'm acting like I couldn't watch the 1500s. I didn't get to see the 1500s. They were like 3 a.m. or something. And I read y'all's recaps.
It's crazy. We've got 45 minutes on the men's 10K.
Yeah.
Not even touched the 1500. Let's run through some of these other people.
Hold on. Just one final point here on Nico Young.
Yeah, I want to run through these people in the 10K. Some of the others, like Nico.
Yeah. Mohamed, great race for him in 4th. We covered it. Kenya, we thought a Kenyan would medal because usually the best Kenyan, the last 2 years, the best Kenyan has gotten the silver medal. Bernard Kibet, who did not win the Kenyan trials, was 5th in this race, being the top Kenyan. We covered it. Kajelcha just can't get it done in the championships. Barrega, I don't think this race suited him. He wasn't in position to use that big kick, and I think it was probably just a little fast for him. Kiplimo, definitely disappointment. Ndika Moenayo, Wiltshire, who are 9th and 10th, national records. I mean, when you run a personal best in the Olympic final, it's hard to be too disappointed. So
Wiltshire was talking to the media and essentially saying, like, there's a point in high school because they asked him about his high school, and he's like, I was getting all these words of encouragement on social media, and it sounded like there's some point in high school he's like, I thought about giving up the sport, and they said no, like keep going. Came to America, got a college degree. I think he said he got an MBA. And he's like, this just shows like I want to inspire these kids. Like work hard, you can do this. I mean, he was very pleased with 10th place. I mean, when you PB in the Olympic final and run 26:50, like you got to be happy with that. It's just another level. Hoka NAZ elite, good job to them. Like this was. A great run by him. I mean, was he up there kicking, John? That's crazy. So he beat Nico. I mean, like, there's so many guys up there, you know, in that race. We further go down to Nico. We said to Nico, like, look, I said to him, like, at the trials, I think you were a little tired right after assessment. He's like, yes. He's like, I decided to skip the 5, took some downtime, got back up to base, and I was ready to go. He's like, I don't, you know, he's like, next year when I'm just competing at this level, I'm going to be better. It sounded like, you know, since you're saying, like, I wasn't at my best, but I knew I was pretty much ready to perform. I mean, he showed that. He was up there until 2 laps to go in the Olympic final. Nobody expected that. I would expect at the trials, you would say Woody Kincaid would have beaten Nico, right? I mean, I think that's a fair way to put it.
No, I thought Nico, if you looked at the way he ran NCAAs and the way he did the trials, and you heard him talk about it, it's like he was feeling pretty fried. He'd been racing hard since cross country. He raced a lot indoors and a lot of very hard efforts, did the double at NCAA indoors, then goes and runs that 10K in California, and he had the 5K NCAA record. He was getting after it. And I was just like, all right, he made the Olympics. That's great. You know, and that's the season, and you can do whatever you do at the Olympics. People aren't really going to care because you just made the team. He goes up to the Olympics. He runs sub 27. This guy, I'm getting 2008 Galen Rupp vibes. 2008 Olympics in Beijing, really hot, humid race. Galen Rupp goes there, runs 27:36 as going into his 5th year of college. People are like, all right, that's a damn impressive performance. Nico Young is 21, so he's younger than Rupp was in that race, and he finishes right around the same place. Young was 12th, Galen Rupp was 13th, and then we know what happens to Galen Rupp. 4 years later, he's on the podium, and I'm looking at Nico Young. Okay, maybe he's not going to make the massive jump he made this year, but 4 years from now, he's got a home Olympics in Southern California. He's a Southern California kid. He's going to be 25. Like, could he get to that level in 4 years? I think he absolutely could. He showed he's got a decent kick at the college level this year. So I'm thinking, and then he's only going to be 29 the Olympics after that in Brisbane. So these crazy. Next 2 shots for Nico Young, you got to remember, 21 in American distance running times, that's a baby. So the one thing, we've got a comment here saying, I wish Nico would come back for full cross country. I know he's got the full pro deal with Adidas, but can we just turn that back into an NIL so he can race Parker Wolf and Graham Blanks this fall in cross country? Nico Young never won NCAA cross. I'm not saying get that money, but as a fan of sport, it'd be fun to see those guys battling cross country.
I mean, the NCAA is just decimated what it used to be about. I don't see why they even care if you're pro contract,
right.
To be honest. Honestly, wait, you can do everything. We can actually pay you. We're going to put in some sort of monopoly type stuff to favor certain conferences. But actually, if you're paid too much and it's a pro deal, you're not allowed to be in college anymore. It logically, literally makes no sense. I'm surprised someone's not going to sue and say, "Why can't I sign a pro contract to be in college?" Honestly, seriously, legal lawyers, get to us. But
wait, one question here, the key question of the night. We put it to Grant Fisher because he was asked in the press conference before it started. He was asked, is there a party going on? Is your family here? He's like, "Oh yeah, my family's here. I'm sure they've already started partying." And we said, well, are you going to join them? Because he's also entered in the 5K later in the meet. And he's like, on the one hand, I need to recover for that 5K. This just took a lot out of me. On the other hand, it's not every day you medal at the Olympic Games. So I'll put it to the Let's Run listeners, and I'll put it to Robert Johnson. Rojo, if you're Grant Fisher, are you partying right now, or are you resting up and getting ready for the 5K?
But I'm not Grant Fisher. Am I partying? Yes. I would hope that my age now, I would not be doing something stupid. You don't have to go.
Go out 2 beers or something.
Is he in the village?
I don't know.
I feel like he's focused. And probably not, but that'd be interesting to know.
How old is he?
Young kids. That's the thing. Why do you act like it's party and do stupid shit?
Go get blacked out. We're saying, show up to the bar, have a beer or 2 with your friends. But here's the other thing. Wild duck theory. We have conflicting evidence of the wild duck theory from the trials, because Grant Fisher was at the wild duck celebrating after he won the 5K. Yep, he was there. I mean, he wasn't going insane, but he was there, and I assume he had a beverage. But Hobbs Kessler was also at the wild duck, and he said, right after the trials, he got COVID.
At the same night, probably.
They were there the same night because I know because I was worried. I was standing right in line next to Hobbs Kessler at the bar for like 10 or 15 minutes. And if he got COVID there, it's kind of a miracle I didn't. So he said he looked good in his prelim this morning, but he's like, that's the cost of going out and celebrating is you're going to be in close contact with people and COVID surge. So yeah, but no, Graf Fischer, he's broken the wild duck curse. He's gotten the medal.
By the way, on our regular podcast on Tuesday, we talked a little bit about the NCAA coaching changes in Colorado. I've heard some wild stuff. I don't think now is the time for it. I'm debating whether to say it to everyone or just supporters club members. But this, they always say the dominoes fall and this impacts this. I mean, I don't think John's heard this. Have you heard this, John? Can I whisper so people can see what I'm whispering to you, John? Like do some. It involves someone who supposedly turned down the Colorado job.
You can text this, Robert. You can text this.
I don't know the rumor you're talking about, Robert. Maybe we'll discuss that off air. Maybe we'll bring it back later in the Olympics episode.
Well,
all right.
Rojo mentioned podcasts. If you're watching this live on YouTube, really want to? I guess it's not that late where you are, but it's 2:00 here. Oh my God!
And I haven't finished the 10K
tomorrow.
recap
I have to do the podcast. We're both gonna be sick. Speaking of COVID, we both have COVID tomorrow. John's coming down with something. I'm sitting 1 foot from him, but
hey, we can sleep in. Well, here's the thing. Our real question,
we cross off for repertoire. Let's check the schedule.
No, because tomorrow morning, so you've got the first round of the men's 100 is at 11:55 Paris time. Before that, you have the repechage round of the women's 800. Now, is this really? Do we want to dignify this with Let's Run's presence? Is this really an event we should be covering?
Well, that gives me hope.
We probably should be there, but at the same time, so we're gonna go to the track. Watch 6 people qualify who are almost now the 6 most likely people to be eliminated in the semifinals. I mean, I can't get on board with this repechage thing.
And this is a real 100 meters, or
so we got the super preliminary round for all the countries that don't have tracks at 10:35, and then the legit prelims 11:55 Paris time.
I mean, I guess we can talk to Noah Christian Coleman one time. Oh, Christian Coleman! Oh shit! I honestly was not trying to dig him. He won't even be there. He'll be in the 4x1. I wanted to win a gold medal, dude.
Well, I want to see Jonathan's recap.
We'll be there.
I want to read the Jonathan recap. Y'all need to get done the show. Y'all been going on for too long.
We haven't talked about the 1500. This is amazing.
Let me say one thing.
5-minute intro, but we didn't even talk about the 1500.
It's a results game, but like halfway through that final lap, when Mo Ahmed looked like he was going to beat Grant Fisher, I was like, wow, the Jerry haters are going to really have a hard time with this one. Like nothing was going to change. Like Grant was going to be 4th or 5th. It looked like Mo Ahmed was actually going to medal. And then there was a changing in the last 150 or whatever it was. So that's just the way it works, So
breaking news. My mom has sent me a text. She wants me to do a podcast on Quincy Williams, 16 years old. Come on. I don't know what she's watching. Quincy Williams didn't run today, but we can now.
Who's Quincy Williams?
Oh, she got it wrong. So Wilson. She got some of it right. So we can use that to segue to the morning stuff. The mixed relay, they broke the 4x4 world record. I only know that because I got a text through the mix zone. Round 1 of the mixed women 4x4. We're talking to, I think, 800 athletes or 5K or something. And one of the interns is like, wow, they ran fast. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Olympics. And then I'm like, oh, the relay, they broke the record. And there was some talk before that the high scorer, Quincy Wilson, was going to be on this relay. He wasn't. Ray's take is saying he's injured. John, you asked.
Well, I was told by a source that Wilson and Bryce Deadman, Wilson was 6th and Deadman was 5th at USA's, were told to run this Holloway Pro meet in Gainesville a couple weeks ago, and the winner would be given the spot on the mixed 4x4 team. I wasn't the only person who heard this. There was another member of the media that said they had heard the same thing, but we wanted to clarify that, we wanted to make sure this is what actually happened. So we asked Deadman about this today, and he basically pleaded the 5th. He's like, that's not my call. If you want to, you can ask the relay coach, Mike Marsh. I'm not sure he'd even ask you about it. I mean, this isn't like it was a slam dunk to put Wilson on the team. I know he'd been running great, but one, he barely beat Deadman in that race in Gainesville. Two, Deadman's older, more experienced. Three, Deadman beat him head-to-head at USA. So I think you can make a case for both guys. Would it have been exciting to see Wilson on the team? Absolutely. But Deadman ran a great split on a team that broke the world record today. So I don't think you can say, like, oh, I mean, I guess they still have to run the final and win the gold there. But so far, it's looking like not a bad decision.
Well, they're up in the final.
Well,
we'll find out more about his injury stuff. But Deadman's like essentially said, tell me if I'm wrong. They don't communicate much to us. We don't really know what's going on. Was that?
But
is that what he said, John? I don't want to speak words for him.
That was the gist of his comments. But at the same time, what I have been told is these athletes were told you need to go and run this race for the spot on the team. And if that's the case, you would have think they would have communicated. Like, why would both of them be in this race otherwise?
Right.
Okay, guys, I'm going to let you guys go and finish the show without me because y'all are taking way too long. Y'all need to get sleep. I'm worried. But a few things, Johnny, in your recap. A lot of people on the message board, I've not read the threads, like that was the greatest 10,000 ever. I don't agree with that. It was the fastest on the Olympics. But why would people think that was the greatest 10,000? So if it is, you need to make the case in the article. I just think it's absurd. Like, what about
it's not, Robert,
you
need to remember, a lot of the people on this message board, I don't know the sport that well before about 2010 because that's when I started following it. But I know Tug Art versus Hailey G in Sydney 2000 was one of the all-time great races at any distance. So it's just there's probably 20-year-olds on the message board who weren't even born when that race was going on.
Push back fastest race ever. Most guys kicking for medals. Like, I mean, how?
Okay.
I mean, fastest race ever, super shoes.
Okay, thank you. Push back.
John, I mean, to me, going sub 13 like in the last half of a 10,000 is more.
Mo versus Galen in London, gold on the home soil. Those two guys, training partners, 1-2. I mean, we've had a lot of great Olympic 10,000 finals.
This had a lot of debate. I mean, all the medals. I don't know if we've ever. How many times we have all the medals on the line in the last lap like that? But, anyways, and then for the 1500, it just sounds to me that like. Josh Kerr's in incredible shape. People say he looks super thin. He looks insane.
Well, he ran. It's not like
normal. Like I don't get the.
It's not like he looks skinny. Did you see how he ran that race today? I guess you didn't wake up for it, Robert. But he was in the first heat.
Oh my!
He goes out near the back. I'm getting Tokyo flashbacks. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He needed a time qualifier to advance to Tokyo. There are no time qualifiers in Paris. You got the repechage round, but. I'm thinking, like, what is he just? Does he not realize this is the Olympics? This is his first 1500 of the year. Wake up, dude! He woke up. He got to the front at the bell. He closed in 1:48.6 and just looked way better than everyone else in that race. He totally controlled it, and it was especially jarring because you had other guys in that race. Yaranu struggled to qualify. Ollie Hoare totally bombed and was like 13th. These are like really, supposedly really good runners. And Kerr made them look like high schoolers out there. Okay. He was just toying with them. So that's why people are so high on Josh Kerr.
I mean, Robert, I was like, oh my God, Kerr's in trouble. He was 10th place with 200 to go? 9th place?
No, it's 200 to go.
I mean, with 400 to go. In my 200 to go, he's in first place. I think he passed 9 guys in 200 effortlessly. 25.9, I think I had him in. And then he sort of pours it on and then finally backs off at the end. A bit unnecessary, but it's just like, wow, I think he's the favorite. Sort of looking at the betting odds here, like he's definitely come down. Jakob was close to minus 200, wasn't he, John? Jakob's dropped to minus 140. It's getting closer to 50-50. Jakob's still the betting favorite in the U.S., but like it was an exhibition. He's confident, and Jakob did the same thing. They had similar tactics. Jakob went to the back, kicked, didn't feel the need to get to first, which you don't need to get to first. So if Josh misses out, why are you doing unnecessary kicking? I guess could be one criticism, but very impressive. And I saw Neil Gorley who made it. 2 of the 3 Brits made it. Gorley made it, and Josh.
Gorley and Kerr, yeah. George Mills
didn't, and they will have a repechage round tomorrow. And that, it's just an extra round for people who didn't make it. There'll be no time qualifiers there. It's all about placing, so you get another bite at the apple. But I saw Gorley actually, I'm talking to people in the heat tendencies race. I'm like, hey, I assumed you made it. Like, there's just certain guys you assume you made it.
Okay, with respect to Neil Gourley, we don't need to be talking about him when we need to wrap up the show.
The point being, he was essentially saying, like, oh, do you see something that he's like, not really? And I was like, well, Josh and Jakob went to the back. He's like, you either want to be in the back or the front. Those are the safest place for racing. He's like, they're not going to the back to like try to show off or anything. They just don't want to mess around in the front. So the back's the safest place to be. You don't have to deal with falling, which makes sense. So there's some, tactical stuff there.
All right.
They look super impressive, both of them.
Disastrous morning for the On Athletics Club, though. All three guys.
No, it's not. Goose made the next round.
It was disastrous for them because they had three guys in the first heat. First of all, they all got drawn in the same heat. They have three guys in the Olympics: Hoare, Mario Garcia-Romo, and Goose.
You expected Romo to do something this one?
I didn't. But he was 4th and 6th at the last two Worlds. So, he'd been. I don't know what's been up with him this year, but he hasn't been the same. But they're all in the same heat. Garcia-Romo doesn't advance, which is probably expected given he didn't even make the final at Euros. Hoare looks awful, just has nothing the last 300, is going back, getting bumped around. This is the second straight championship he's bombed. Remember, because he was injured last year, and then 2022 in Eugene, he didn't make the final, even though he'd been one of the best guys on the circuit in the Diamond League. And then he won the Commonwealth Games over the world champion a few weeks later. So he's got 2 straight really bad championships. And the Goose, he did end up making it up in the final straight, but he didn't look all that comfortable either. He looked like he was working pretty hard to do it. So not a great morning for OAC.
We don't need you guys to regurgitate your written recap. Here's the question.
Let people listen. They listen to the podcast. The surprising one was he won the London Diamond League in the last race. It's not like he was coming
2 weeks ago. Yeah,
bombed. Like, that was the big surprise. Hobbs Kessler, as we said, he revealed he had COVID at the Wild Duck. He said, look, I was going to take it easy. If I could pick the time to get COVID between the Olympic trials, and now I picked it perfectly right after the trials, it was going to be a down period. He said, I took it easy. I heard about, so many people who, tried to train a lot during COVID and, had it linger, really affect things. So that was it. If you're just joining us, people are asking who the bald dude is. I don't know.
I think
that's Jonathan Galt.
A lot of poop emojis.
Genius of WestRun.com. I'm Weldon Johnson, a hack, wannabe 2-time Olympic trials qualified, and the brains of WestRun.com. Rojo, coming to us from Baltimore. He actually did not miss a flight, I don't think. I think he's actually supposed to come tomorrow. That was a joke, people. But this is the WestRun.com Track Talk podcast, presented by Feldspar. They're making tracks for the 21st century. Thank you, Feldspar, for bringing all of our coverage. And, okay, Rojo, I'm starting to hit fumes. 2:15.
Okay, listen, I want to ask a few questions because I wasn't there and I didn't watch these morning sessions. So Kerr is 10 out of 10, and he was Jakob less impressive? Was he like a 9.5? And then on a 0 to 10 scale on ranking for Goose and Hocker.
Yeah, I mean, Jakob's probably a 9.5 or a 9, but only because he waited longer to make his move. Like, with 200 to go, he was still in 12th or 13th place. I'm just like, this, that's worrying. Even if you're as good as Jakob, that's a lot of guys to pass in the 1500. But when he moved up great, and by 25 minutes to go, he was looking around and cruising. So he looked very good, but maybe Coe's looked a little bit better. Nagoose and Hawker, that was your other question, Robert. I mean, Nagoose, he made it through, but I would only give him a 6 or a 6 probably because
it was in doubt.
Yeah, he said afterwards that it was because he didn't have the right room to move, and he was just looking for room to get going. But I don't know. I'm judging it by the strain on his face, the ease of motion. It didn't look like Kerr and Ingebrigtsen did.
And wait, what about Hawker? Why are we not critical of Hawker?
Hawker was boxed in too, but when he started moving, he just looked like he was moving a lot better than Nagoose. So that's why, he wasn't in great position, but he just has this knack for freeing himself, and he's got better wheels at the end than Nagoose. So. And
one thing that Kessler said was, he's like, some people say I don't have good tactics. They're very aware of Let's Run message boards, I feel like.
I mean, to his defense, though, apart from USA Indoors, which was a horrific tactical race, he has run very well tactically.
Yeah, he said, I think they're getting better. He's gotten better. He didn't have any experience at this level, really, until recently. Now he's getting a few races. He's like, I wanted it to be clean. He's like, it's not easy at this level, but I had a clean race. Like, it was easy. He's like, he watched the 2 American heats before his, and he said that, he's like, I saw Cole like box down or like 250 to go or something. He's like, he goes, fortunately, he's got that high end speed. He knows it's amazing. I think he knows it's a gear he doesn't even have. He's like, that helps him out a lot. But I think probably Kessler is somebody maybe like how you view Grant Fisher. You want a medal, he needs like a really good trip or a great tactical race.
Okay, but are we admitting now that the most likely medal third placer is not Cole Hawker, it's not Yared Naguse, it's for the guy that used to listen to this podcast in the backseat of his parents' car, Niels Lagos. I mean, I was pleased to read Joe's recap. He apparently greeted Joe like long lost friends. And this is the kid that, I mean, Ollie Hoare won the London Diamond League, but he fell and almost won it. You don't fall in a world class race and almost win it. So to me, he's there for the bronze, right?
Well, he could be.
How do you look today?
I still feel pretty good about Cole Hawker. Cole Hawker didn't show me anything today that suggests he can't win the bronze medal. So, yeah, I think the question is, do these guys run aggressively and run for the gold, or do they try to snipe people down and run for the bronze? Because I think we could be in a situation where Kerr and Jakob are just a degree fitter than everyone else, and anyone who tries to go with them is finished and, you know, ruins their race by running for gold. They ruin their shot at the medal. But the opposite, Nick Willis has made the opposite. He had a great breakdown of this. He actually thinks Kerr and Ingebrigtsen are going to get so caught up battling each other that they're going to tire each other out, and Cole Hawker is going to steam through and get the gold.
John, did you see this comment, or you just made this up?
Oh, no, I didn't see the comment.
Oh, well, because I saw this comment.
No,
like,
he actually had a video talking about it, yeah.
We literally just put this comment up from Rojo Runner. Nick Willis thinks Hawker will win. I'm like, what? But that is the scenario. They just so go at it.
I've seen it before. I've seen guys get so preoccupied with this one other guy, and they're just responding to every move. I mean, that's kind of what happened with Ingebrigtsen in the 2022 Worlds. He was responding to every move that Timothy Chariot made, and when it came time to fend off a move from Jake Whiteman, he didn't have anything left.
I think at some point, honestly, if you're pushing like on the back, unless it's the final 200, if someone tries to pass you and you're going too hard, you let them pass you. Even if they take the rail, then sit behind them and pass on the final 100.
But the egos on these guys, that takes a lot of focus in the moment to be like, oh, I can't respond to this. I need to hold off. Like, are you going to be able to do that when you see the guy that you've been, trying to beat all year making that move? It's tough.
If Kessler can get the gold, then Laros, oh my God.
Okay, guys.
Laros puts the gold with the contact.
Let me know. I need to put up the podcast for you.
All right.
The podcast. Join the Supporters Club today. Let'sRun.com/subscribe.
Okay, the other stuff, the 800s.
We don't need to go into that. Like, who was the big? Allie Wilson didn't advance the 800.
He beat her last race in London too. So I think her and, Ollie Hoare show that like you can come in very fit and just perform poorly here.
Everyone
needs to race in 15 hours. Like when we wake up tomorrow, to be racing the Rapid Charge rounds.
Everyone's good in the Olympics. You have to bring it. If you're not focused, if you don't bring it, you're gonna get beat. You're gonna fail to advance. All that sort of stuff. You need to be locked in for 3 rounds or 2 rounds, however long your race is, because if you slip up, there are about a dozen people who are going to be ready to pounce.
So Mikey Smith wants to know which one's a Brojo. The Brojos are the brothers Johnsons. I'm one half of the Brojo. The Brojo just left.
I'm not a Brojo.
But yeah. And there's something to be said about getting the nerves out. Like, who knows? Like Josh Kerr was a time finalist for the finals in Tokyo and got left home with a medal. I don't expect Ollie Hoare to do that, but you start from scratch tomorrow. So that's and people have different expectations. It might just reset what he's trying to do. Whitney Morgan, she came in with what, like 5th at the trials, 6th at the trials.
5th.
Olympian. She's like, I skipped the opening ceremony. I wanted to prove I belong. She made the final. In the 5K, the heats were very uneven in the women's 5K. The first heat was like everyone really good, and the second heat didn't have it. Both had 6-foot qualifiers.
Yeah, Whitney Morgan's not as good as Chris Schweizer or Elise Cranny. Those two had to battle to get the 7th and 8th spots. Morgan got 6th in her heat fairly easily. So anyway, that was the prelims action. We don't need to dig
tomorrow.
Into all of it.
Just give them
a quick preview tomorrow. In the mornings, we've got the women's 800 repechage, first round of the men's 100. Then tomorrow night, men's 1500 repechage round. women's 100 meters semis and final, end of the men's decathlon, and the mixed 4x4 final, as well as the men's shot put and
what?
women's triple jump final.
No distance? Usually like a 10K final.
No, because they're doing the 5K women first, and they did the prelims today.
I need someone to go. I think I should go party. I'm going to go to something else tomorrow.
You're going to ignore Sha'Carri Richardson going for goal?
I want to see that, but like, maybe I'll go to tennis in the afternoon or something.
Okay. Well, we've got some stories to finish up here from Paris, so it's approaching 2:30 in the morning. So we're going to end this broadcast. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Had a ton of fun doing this show. We will be back tomorrow night and every night until August 11th, the final day of the game. Actually, August 11th, we'll probably still do a show.
What time are we thinking tomorrow, John? We actually did not promote the show at all or put up a time until it started, so apologies for that. But
I think 1 a.m. is probably a good bet because, that will be 7 p.m. Eastern.
we did the same time today or something?
Yeah, same time as today.
Earlier.
No, because I think the Sha'Carri Richardson and the 100-meter medalists, they're going to take a lot longer to come through, don't you think?
Okay. 6:30 or 7 p.m. tomorrow, people.
Yeah, stay
East
tuned.
Coast. Thank you, Feldspar, for bringing us all the Paris coverage. If you want to know more about their track, go to feldsparsport.com. Track for the 21st century. Smart track. We need a smart track. Hopefully this was a smart podcast, everybody. Oh, we had fake Josh Kurt. Can someone put in the comments if you actually heard him? I think we played fake Josh Kurt. He called in. It was very funny.
All right. Good night, everybody.